Hello everybody! Today we are going to be talking about one of the more difficult parts of English, and that would be phrasal verbs. Now, phrasal verbs, there are a lot in English, and we use them a lot in informal or spoken contexts. Now, many of these phrasal verbs also take on multiple meanings, and they're used with a variety of prepositions and adverbs, so this will probably be a lesson that you will need to review once, twice, a few times, but I think together it'll be okay. And just a quick reminder before we get started, these are, again, informal and spoken. We do not use these in academic writing, and you should avoid them if possible in professional writing as well. So what is a phrasal verb anyways? Well, a phrasal verb is a phrase that's usually 2 or 3 words long, a main verb or an initial verb, followed by either an adverb, across, along, or a preposition, on, up. And right now, you can see a few examples. Now, phrasal verbs usually have more than one meaning. For example, the phrasal verb turn down has the following meanings. I could ask you, could you please turn down the radio? Here, I'm asking you to reduce the volume. However, I could also say something like, she turned down our offer. And here, turn down means to reject. It has nothing to do with volume at all. Now, sometimes we can separate phrasal verbs, and sometimes we can't. Now, there are some rules that we need to follow if we're talking about phrasal verbs that we can separate. For example, if the phrasal verb has an object, or it is a transitive verb, then we can separate the verb and its following adverb or preposition. For example, if I say, please put down all of the phrasal verbs we study today, I could also say, please put all of the phrasal verbs we study today down. Here we may use this phrasal verb in 2 possible ways because it has an object, because it's transitive. And I can either put the object in between or after. However, if we have a pronoun as an object of the sentence used with a separable phrase, we need to always put it in the middle. For example, put them down, please. You would never, ever say, put down them. It hurts me a little bit just to think about it. Now, the following phrasal verbs, the ones you should see on your screen right now, are separable. And let's examine a few examples using these. If I say, will you pick up my mom from the airport? Here, the phrasal verb pick up, meaning to give someone a lift, I could reply by saying, okay, I'll pick her up. In the first example, can you pick up my mom? My mom is the object, and I've put her after pick up. But in the reply, I'll pick her up, my object has gone in the middle. This is fine. In a second example, it's cold outside. Put on your hat. Here, to put on, meaning to put clothing onto your body, or simply to begin wearing clothes, I could reply saying, I can't put it on. I don't know where it is. Again, here, the object has moved to the middle. Put on your hat, put it on. Another example, is it possible to put off the meeting until tomorrow? Here, put off meaning postpone or do later. We can say, yes, we'll put it off. Here, again, moving the object to the middle. And here, I must move it to the middle, if you remember, because I have replaced the meeting with the pronoun it. Let's look at another example. I can't stand this loud music anymore. Please turn it down. Here, turn it down, just like our example in the beginning of the lesson, to reduce volume, and turn it down. Because we're using a pronoun, I think you've got it. So, another example. It's not easy to bring up children, or to bring children up. Here, again, I'm not using a pronoun, but I can use my object wherever I feel like, in between or after. And here, to bring up means to raise and educate children. Another example, during the meeting, they brought up quite a controversial topic. Here, brought up means to mention. It's the same as me saying, during the meeting, they mentioned quite a controversial topic. Another example, I have suddenly found out that I have an exam tomorrow. Here, find out means discover. Another example, when will you give me my book back? Here, to give back means to return, and we usually use give back to a person. We usually wouldn't say give back to a business. Usually the recipient, the person whom the object is being given back to, is a person. One more example. If you don't know the meaning of the word, look it up in the dictionary. Here, look it up means find it or search for it in the dictionary. And one more example using transitive phrasal verbs. This young man has set up a charity fund. Here, set up means establish or start or even organize. The young man has organized his own charity fund. Pretty cool, right? However, we need to be careful because there are some transitive phrasal verbs or phrasal verbs with an object where you cannot separate them, where the object must go after the preposition or the adverb, because these sentences will change meaning if it is in the middle. So let's look at a few examples where the object must go after. The first example, look after, like to take care of somebody. Like in the sentence, will you look after my puppy for a while? Here, I could not put puppy in between. That would be a completely different sentence. Another example, to take after, or to have similar features with someone, to resemble. For example, who do you take after, your mom or your dad? Here, again, I can't move the place of mom and dad. They must come after. To get over is another, or to recover from emotional issues or difficulties. It took him time to get over the breakup. And one more example, to run across, to meet someone or something, or to find someone or something. For example, I've run across an interesting article recently. Here, again, I cannot move the object. If I move the object to the middle, I've changed the meaning entirely. Now, another example of phrasal verbs where we cannot move the object is to run into, meaning to meet somebody by chance. For example, yesterday I ran into my old schoolmates. Now, here I want to explain one thing, and I've said several times so far that you cannot move the object in these phrases, and the meaning changes. So let's look at what happens if I move the object in this phrase, run into. So I said earlier, yesterday I ran into my old schoolmates, meaning I met them. But if I say the sentence, yesterday I ran my foot into the coffee table, here I'm not saying that I accidentally or unintentionally met my foot. I'm saying that I accidentally hit my foot on the coffee table. There are also some intransitive phrasal verbs, and intransitive, meaning without an object, intransitive phrasal verbs cannot be separated. They will always appear together. And let's look at some examples of intransitive phrasal verbs. The first example, to break down or to stop working. Like in the sentence, my car has broken down. Another example, to come back, meaning to return. I came back to school after I left because I had forgotten a book. Also, to come in, meaning to enter. Like in the very polite expression, may I come in? We also have the expression to eat out. Now this means to eat not at home, but at a restaurant or cafe or just somewhere not at home. For example, we prefer to eat out on weekends. We don't like to cook. Another phrasal verb, to get up, to arise from bed. Like in the sentence, it's difficult to get up in the mornings. We also have the verb to go on or to continue. For example, go on talking, please. Continue talking, please. And also to show off, to display or to demonstrate in order to invite someone to compliment or admire you. For example, he showed off his new car. He made sure to make sure everyone saw his new car and told him how nice it was. Now, there's one more group of phrasal verbs that I want to mention to you all, and these are three-word phrasal verbs. They simply are phrasal verbs that consist of a verb with two prepositions or an adverb and a preposition after the main verb. And let's look at some examples. First, to run out of, meaning to exhaust the supply of something. Like in the sentence, having traveled halfway, we ran out of petrol. It's not good. Or to put up with, meaning to tolerate. Like in the sentence, I can't put up with those injustices. I must do something. Or another example, cut down on, to reduce the amount of something or of doing something. Like in the sentence, if you want to lose weight, you should cut down on sweets. Another example, to get rid of, to make free from something or to eliminate. Like in the sentence, you'd better get rid of all unnecessary things at home. Or I can also say, to get along with, to have a good relationship with someone. Like in the sentence, it's very difficult to get along with my sister-in-law. Or another, to be fed up with, to be unable to deal with something or to be unable to tolerate something any longer. Like in the phrase, I'm fed up with your constant complaints. I won't listen to any more. Also, to keep up with, meaning to keep pace with or to maintain a pace with. For example, whenever we go running, I have a hard time keeping up with my sister. She's very fast. Now, there's another example that I want to spend a little bit of extra time talking about, and that is look forward to doing something. Look forward to means to anticipate something with excitement. You really want it to happen. For example, in the sentence, I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon, or I'm looking forward to my holiday. Now, I'm sure you noticed that here we use look forward to with the gerund. But is it a little strange to hear to with a gerund or with a verb ending with ing? I mean, can I even do that? Of course I can. Because here, to does not form part of the infinitive with my secondary verb, in this case, look forward to hearing. It instead acts as a preposition with the phrasal verb. And because it is not forming part of the infinitive, I can use it with an ing verb, or a gerund in this case. Now, there's also another phrase which uses to look up to view somebody with admiration. For example, I have always looked up to my dad. Here, again, I have always looked up to my dad. This isn't followed by a verb, just up to my dad. So there's nothing even to worry about here, right? And one more, to take care of, to feel responsibility for or to care for something. For example, parents always take care of their children. Here, I'm just saying that parents have a responsibility to their children to protect them, make sure all their needs are met. You get the idea.